Hello, everybody. I see lots of agents who are hungry for knowledge. Is that correct? That was a really good topic we just had there. So this is number 3 for the day. My name is Brett Caltharp, and I am the new Director of Industry Outreach. I've been with Zillow Group about 3 months, had the honor of following Jay Thompson in that role. So super excited to be here for my first forum. How many forums have you guys attended?
This is my first.
First?
First as well, yep. It's my third.
Third. All right, so we're going to be leaning on you for most of the information as we get started. So we've got a great panel here. I've got Todd Hudson, Eric Pearson, and Teresa Stevenson. I'm just going to have them go down the line and introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about their companies. But what our topic is today is something that I think is really relevant to a lot of team leaders, which is how do we have a strategy for growth? Can you guys not hear me? I'm getting, no? Okay. I can talk louder. I played in rock bands, so I can scream if I have to. But. Who's ready for knowledge? All right. So what we're going to talk about today is basically how to grow your team strategically and when to make the moves you need to adapt for the growth that you're looking for, right? So I'm really excited about that. So we'll just start with you, Teresa. Just tell us your name and company and where you're from and a little bit about you.
My name is Teresa Stevenson. My partners and I run Platinum Properties in New York City. We have about 30 agents on our team. I was an agent full-time for about 3 or 4 years before I partnered up with my colleagues and have spent the last couple of years developing our business, but also helping each of our individual agents learn how to structure their business so that it is scalable for themselves.
I'm Eric Pearson. I'm the CEO and founder of Pearson Smith Realty. Over the past 3 years, we've grown from 17 to 1,000 agents, so it's been pretty rapid there. We're right outside DC in the Northern Virginia area, and we'll probably do close to $3 billion this year in terms of sales as a broker. So,
my name's Todd Hudson, and I'm from the seacoast of New Hampshire. My real estate company is Red Post Realty. I'm the CEO and founder of that. We started about 5 years ago looking at a niche in the market. We had never actually sold real estate before and thought, hey, this might be something fun. Got into it, went from 1.3 our first year, and this year we'll do about 110 million. So it's been a fun ride.
That's great. So I think the best way to start with this is to really kind of start with the obvious question, which is when did you decide, how and when did you decide to kind of scale your operations? And I know from talking to you before, you all had like very different takes on this. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Teresa. As you came into your role in a very particular market in New York City, how did you kind of plot the growth there?
Well, again, for me, I think it's particularly unique. You don't often have the opportunity to partner with the people who are already running the firm. I think that what I have learned from being in my position, as opposed to doing it properly the first time, is how to help the agents, again, get into a position where they're ready to scale their own businesses. And I think, there's so many great ideas that we are learning here at Forum, all these things we'd like to do. I think from the very beginning, from day one, you have to start writing your own manual, right? What are the systems and procedures for running, if I'm, Jane Agent, what is Jane Agent LLC? How does that company run? How do we do follow-up? How do we do our social media? And having really clear ways of tracking that, using your CRMs so that when you do have enough business, you're not suddenly saying, wait, how do I do this? Now it's all up in my head. I don't have, I follow up with my customers when I feel like it, right? Because I'm so close to all of them. Well, that's not going to help when you're taking on an agent, an assistant, when you're taking on junior agents. And it's so much easier to do that from the beginning than it is to sort of look back and then try and figure out how you're going to do it.
And obviously with your growth, which I think everybody would call explosive, I would imagine a plan was incredibly important for you to manage that as well.
Yeah, it's actually way different. So when I started in 2011 as an individual agent, green, and by my second year I was doing about 72 transactions, and pretty much just looked out the door and said, hey, do you want leads? I got some, come join the team, because it was pure necessity at that point. I just had too many leads, and we kind of reverse engineered it. So we kind of built the team up, and then we went back, failed in different areas, and since then kind of really refined it in terms of how we do things. So ours was just, hey, let's do this.
Yeah, I love it. So. And Todd, obviously coming from a different entrepreneurial background that you have, brought a really unique perspective to this. So how did you approach your growth?
Yeah, so we looked at ours from a different approach than both of you did. We looked at the market and said, okay, we're going to start a real estate business. This is what it's going to do its first year, second, third, fourth, fifth, and built out from that model right from the beginning, knowing that at some point we're going to have too many leads. At some point there's not going to be enough time. At some point we're going to need to train everybody the way that the people that started and were successful did. So we really went from the ground up with a business plan. And I think that's, to your point, which is that if you have a plan for all of your agents, it shouldn't really be any different than your plan to start the company because you're all doing the same thing. Now there's a few more intricacies from the brokerage side. For all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same thing. You just plan the success, you create that through the model, and then they see the success in the end of it.
Oh, that's great. And obviously, when you first get started, there's that certain magic that happens with that initial crew, right? It's like, the first season of a great television show. So how, as you continue to grow, especially in the way that you guys have grown, how have you guys hired for culture to keep that magic as you double, triple, 10x the amount of agents that are part of that magic? And I'll go ahead and start with you on this one, Eric.
Yeah, so culture is just very important to us. We kind of have a Google type feel in terms of our office environment and different things that we do. Putting greens in the office, all that different stuff. But what I really found as we grew is team leaders, and I'm going to speak as if I'm a team leader, like there has to be that strong value proposition. And no matter how many times I went over it, I got to provide a great atmosphere, but it really came down to leads and compensation. So when we get agents on the team, we often see them reach a point where they're almost capped out. So we've created new programs that they can kind of evolve into. So from a commission structure, if you want to know how we do it, leads are always 50-50. They just cost a decent amount of money, and we have to see that ROI on those. But agents can then choose between two packages. They can be 75-25 on personal business, or they can be 90-10 and pay me $500 a month to help supplement that lead cost. So as we've grown, it initially was 50-50 on everything. You saw a lot of people kind of come off and no longer want to do it, and we lost really good people. And this has allowed us to really retain people wanting to receive those leads and then obviously have buy-in to do their best job. So,
and Todd?
So from our standpoint, again, a little different as well too, as everybody probably in the panel will be, we wanted to set it up so everybody that came in was able to sort of replicate, again, the same thing that everyone who started, because we had never done it before. We had never sold residential real estate. So to be able to have a model for each one of them that they could replicate, and it's simple, again, with the business plan is how we're able to do it.
Yeah, that's great. And Teresa, what about you?
Well, we're really, again, our brokerage is only 30 agents, so we're really a brokerage that's operating as a large team. And I think, to be 100% open and honest and transparent, there was a moment in our history when we opened another office, right? We're in downtown Manhattan, we're on Wall Street, and we opened a midtown office, which may not sound like it's that different. It's like being in Texas versus Idaho or something, right? It's very different. And it's because we were very successful, we were doing so well downtown, we're like, well, the next thing to do is grow, let's grow, so we need more. Did not work for us. Did not work at all. I think it's knowing who you are and what you're good at, right? Very different from what you're doing. For us, it was like, we're actually really good at small, we're really good at luxury, and why don't we, instead of having more and more agents, why don't we make more money for the agents we have? And that helps culture.
Tends to help.
Yeah, that helps retention. And because we're small enough, my partners are brother and sister. So talk about family-oriented, right? It's one of our core values. And I think that's really, we have family dinners. We have, all the things I'm sure the majority of brokerages and teams are doing. But because there are only 30 of us, it really is like family. And I sit down with each and every one of our agents for at least a concentrated hour every month. They always have access to me. My partners are in the office every day. We really do treat our agents like family. And I think it's the reason that I stayed with the firm and didn't go somewhere else and eventually ended up where I am today. So it's obviously a lot easier to do that when you're a smaller firm, but we've found growth in a different way,
sure.
As opposed to numbers. Yeah.
Did you talk?
Yeah, can I get back to one of the things? So, I forgot about this little story that we had. It's we have a list that came. One of our guys is a boat captain. He came in to do real estate. It's our top agent, and he brought something from that industry. He's stuck on a boat, a small luxury boat, for 4 or 5 months on end. and it was this thing called, it was a FIFO. One of the words I'm not going to describe, but it's fit in or off. So we have this big list of those.
PG-13, folks.
Yeah, we have a big list, and that's really the big thing. It's that even if you're the best, you're killing it as an agent, you're going to bring in tons of money for me, I'm loving you, but if you're not the fit for those human beings that are there, it doesn't matter how much money you bring in. The only thing that matters is, can you work inside of that construct, and can you work as a team?
100%. I couldn't back that up more.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with all of you. And I think that as you look at building in that culture, having a solid plan for that, they always say you can hire for culture, you can teach them how to sell real estate versus the other ways. But, I think one of the simplest techniques anybody can have for like how to help be a better listing agent is pretend somebody would walk in and give you 50 listings. What systems would you need to have in place to be able to handle that? So to me, that's onboarding. And I loved how you talked about, what you do as far as describe your job position. But I think to your point, to make sure the fit in, it's one thing to say it with culture, it's another to have systems in place to make sure that happens. So what are you doing directly as far as the onboarding portion? I know you spend some time with the agents, et cetera, but how important have you seen it to be for you in your business, and what are some of the techniques you're using?
I think onboarding is incredibly important, to have a structured plan for what you're going to do. We give our agents a full 2 weeks. New York market is a little bit different. We start people out in rentals because rentals are very lucrative in New York, and they get a lot of transaction experience very quickly. So it's really nice, like paid training for sales. But we do 2 weeks of really concentrated we hire between 3 and 6 agents at most in any given time. It is invaluable, imperative that you know what you are doing, that you are scheduled, that you have a very good structure, especially if it's a new agent. These are people that are suddenly going into a commission business, usually for the first time. You want them to feel like they're in safe hands. And I feel it is my responsibility to make sure that they have the momentum and the knowledge and the ability to make money as quickly as possible. Right now they're excited. If they don't have what it takes to get started very quickly, then they're going to lose the momentum and the enthusiasm, and then you're just sunk. But if you can build on the enthusiasm and motivation they have coming into it and just really help them get going, that's what that initial onboarding and training needs to do, and they'll love you for it.
And Todd, I want to hear your thoughts on this too, and then we'll go to Eric.
So for us, the onboarding, I would say the biggest success we've had in onboarding is a lot of mentoring. So you come on and we use Slack for anyone that's heard of it, really great messaging thing, so you don't get bogged down with email. And one of the things we've done for our onboarding is any of the agents that are out there that are selling 10, 20, 30 million, they throw out when they have either an inspection, a listing appointment, and we do a ton of hands-on, very little traditional, like here's how you set up a listing, here's how you do this. You're going to sit with that person who's doing the listing that day. You're going to go to that inspection. You're going to go to the septic inspection and do something awful, and you're going to start doing those types of actions that were going to lead to your success, because if you're watching someone who's successful in navigating those things. So your onboarding is all real. It's all something you're going to be doing to build your own personal business, and that's one of the most successful things we've seen in terms of the onboarding. The classes and things that we do are great, but the thing that they get the most value from, hands down, is being with the people that are successful and doing the same things they've done, building on something that's simple and just repeating successful actions.
That's great.
Gosh, when an agent comes onto our team, so we use Boomtown in terms of our CRM. I don't know if anybody uses Boomtown, but when an agent comes on, they have a week training with our Boomtown director and also the manager or team lead. And then from there, they go on to leads. Now, we start them on Boomtown leads. It's a little bit lower quality in terms of pay-per-click, Facebook marketing, things like that. So they go through Boomtown, working those leads. Once they graduate from that, they can go to the next level, which will be some other leads, Realtor.com, and then to our highest level, which is Zillow, which we consider our best leads. But agents can kind of work up in terms of the lead quality they get, what they're getting. It's really going to come down to how well they're converting and different things like that. So
that's great. I love that approach, and I think that's another natural introduction to the next thing I want to talk about, which I think is one of the most pressing issues that a lot of team leaders kind of grasp with, which is how do I balance career development for my team members with my fear that I'm going to make them into powerhouses and they're going to leave me and break my heart. Does any of you guys ever run into that problem, right? It's a very delicate balance, right? And obviously we've got different scales of growth here. So Eric, how have you kind of adjusted for that? Because you're setting them up so much for success but trying to do so without the fear of them leaving.
Right.
What are you doing to help make that
Well, it's
happen?
actually why I left previous brokerage and started my own.
It's funny how that works.
But you're going to see two things. Agents either drop off, they're just not cutting it, not putting in the effort that's needed, or they reach a level of success where they're ready to do it on their own, right? That's the hardest part. So at our brokerage, what we decided to do when we came over, we have that kind of team group that gets leads. And my goal is to actually grow them off of that and to become producing agents within the brokerage. So at the brokerage, there's other packages, higher compensation. They can go build teams, scale that themselves. So I actually do it again a little bit opposite. I'm trying to take them and grow them off a lead so we can take in the next person and kind of rinse and repeat. So it's actually why we started Pearson Smith to begin with. So
I think that's great. And Teresa, how are you addressing that?
I think one of the biggest parts of retention is who you hire, right? You've got to hire people that are the right fit for your culture, kind of like what Todd was saying. Like if you're not the right fit, if you're not, what are the first two letters? Fitting in?
Yep.
Yeah. So, if there are a lot of great agents out there who want to do it on their own, and they're maverick and they're solo and they're making a lot of money, that's great. They probably shouldn't work for our firm. Right? Our firm is all about teamwork and community and family, and I think that's a big part of the reason that the people who stay. There's always going to be somebody who can offer a bigger split. I actually think your model is fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's if you are going to go big, something like that just is really genius. For us, we're really good at small, and so we're going to attract and retain people who like that, right? Who like the luxury feel, who like they're coming into the office every day. We're all there. It's kind of like family. One of the best things people have said to me is when they're having a hard time in their personal life, they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I get to come to this office every day," and that's just, it just really
It's an
feels
amazing
good.
feeling,
Yeah. So I think that is a big part of what helps us with retention. And I do put everything that I can into, again, it's why I'm here today, because I really focus so much on making them and their businesses scalable and growable so that they can have their own assistants, their own junior agents, and still work within our firm. And at the end of the day, people are going to leave if they feel like you're not growing their business. They're going to leave if they feel like you're not giving them opportunity. So you have to do those things one way or another, And at the end of the day, if they, it's not happening to us. It's not happening that they're getting so successful that they're saying, I want to leave. They're saying, I've gotten really successful because I'm at a place where I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm supported, and I have somebody who's helping me grow. If I go out and do that on my own, I'm going to be doing it on my own. And these are people who are naturally just more team players. So you have to think about who you're hiring and not just look at their numbers when you hire them.
That's brilliant. Todd?
So mine's going to sound very similar to Teresa's as well. We looked at it as our goal is to create agents that are high volume, big on culture, and big on team. So we actually give everyone a fairly extensive Myers-Briggs test. We don't hire any owls, no offense to any owls that might be out there in the animal test. We don't hire any of it. You guys are terrible for us, so we know what we're looking for. We really hone in on the type of human, and from my past in starting companies, we really developed a very extensive hiring, which is kind of crazy for real estate because probably to what you do, Eric, with 900 people, you got to get a lot of people in the door to try to figure out what's going on. So for us, as we get a lot of people in the door and we put a lot of time into it, we say no to a lot of people. That's been the big thing for us, and our growth is based on that. We're looking, in our market, we look to have, our average sales price is like $380,000. Our goal is to have every agent to be between 10 and 15 million, only full-time agents, only people that are there the whole time. And again, culture is what brings this back, is how we retain them. We hire people that are interested in a high culture place. I mean, the office is dog friendly, we've got art everywhere, it's right in the downtown of this area, it's a fun environment. Again, I think you said, Teresa, people come in, they're like, man, I got a tough day at home. Our agents treat it like a 9-to-5 job. And we try to make a hub. And so when we expand to other places, we look to the same place, we grow that, get to 20, and then move on and just keep taking really small elite teams that are able to stay there and want to be there because that's the type of brokers they're looking for. I mean, we have the largest trade organization in the US, so there's a whole lot of different humans out there. And if you attract the humans that you need, then that's going to retain them.
The tribe sets your vibe. And I think that's important. And obviously, you all three sound like you have kind of the luxury where agents come to you often, right? But we all have those times that we do need to be a lot more proactive as far as recruiting and et cetera. So what are some of the techniques that you've used as far as during the growth process as far as being proactive and balancing that like team leader broker cap with I've got to go out and recruit because I need to meet more humans to find the right ones to fit into my company? And I'll start with you. Go ahead, Todd.
So for us, we found it to be the most successful. We've done a bunch of different things. We tried advertising, we tried headhunters. The most successful thing was incentivizing our other agents to bring other people in. Hands down, the best people we've had outside of the small team that we started with was referrals from other agents.
Okay.
So that's been the key for us. They know who their friends are. They know who the people that might be interested. And we also sort of look at the entire MLS that we have in our area and say, okay, who have you had good transactions with? What would they like as a human being? Or if you're just out and you know someone from another industry that's, again, a cultural fit, grab them, let's talk to them and bring them in.
Go ahead, head down the line.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing. We offer a revenue share to our agents. It's up to 5% GCI when they introduce us to an agent that joins the brokerage. So of the nearly 1,000, about 700 have been recruited by others. So it happens very organically from agents introducing us. The other ways that we get it out there is obviously just simplistic MailChimp blasts. We also do digital natives, which is kind of a Facebook social campaigns that get out there and kind of retarget and garner interest. And then we're also, Matt Johnson now, we're using it for podcasts to kind of get information out there, become an authority in the marketplace, and hopefully get people organically through that. So a lot of different things, but mainly that agent incentive is the best so far. So.
And Teresa?
We also do have incentives for our agents. The truth is, though, that historically, we've gotten most of our agents, or a good number of our agents, as people who are just starting in the industry. We're very, very good at training our agents. Again, because of the rental model in New York, we also happen to train our agents in open listings for rentals, which is very similar to working with Premier Agent leads, right? So we've gotten very good at that kind of training. And recently, we have been doing a lot more recruiting in a very organic way because of how successful we've been with Premier Agent. There are a lot of people, it's been relatively recent rollout in New York over the last couple of years, and a lot of people have tried the system and failed because they're not so good with the phone leads. A lot of us in New York are spoiled with all the buyers that just come direct to the listing agents that were posted by StreetEasy.com. We're very good at coaching people on Zillow, and so the more that people hear about the success that we are having with StreetEasy Premier Agent, which is, again, with Zillow Premier Agent, we have been attracting a lot of high quality talent that way. So thank you.
Well, that's great. And I want to make sure that you guys, I want to reinforce a point that Todd makes, and it's that you're not just looking for the superstars when you talk to your agents. One of my first mentors when I got started in real estate in 2004 told me it's hard to soar with the eagles when you're surrounded by turkeys. So asking your agents who should we bring in is important, but asking your agents who should we not bring in and keep away with the 10-foot pole is equally as important, because you can poison the well very, very fast. So to expand on something that you mentioned there is the Zillow effect, and to what degree you've used your relationship with Zillow Group, whether it's through connections with your BC or obviously our Premier Agent programs, et cetera. So where should these team leaders who are thinking about growing, what are some of the pieces where brokers can talk to, or team leaders can talk to Zillow Group and use some of our resources to kind of help in that growth strategy?
Our business consultant has been enormously helpful. We are just constantly, we're a little bit of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, If there's any issue happening, anything going on, Alex Danilov is our business consultant. He's fantastic, and he's always there for us. We meet with him regularly every 3 weeks. I think just having really great communication with whatever your needs are. If you don't know how to train your agents on Premier Agent, talk to your business consultant. Where else can I go? There's so many resources. I know I don't even know about all the resources that are available to us. So make sure you're spending hopefully you're spending a lot of money and making a lot of money with Premier Agent, but this is a big investment. Make sure that you're doing your part, right? To say, I need this. I need help on how to train my agents. I need help on how to sell this to them. I don't, any part of it that's not working for you, instead of saying it's not working, figure out where the resources are that you need to make it work, because they are there. And I think what will set you apart from the competition is that other people are not digging in that much. They might just be throwing their money, their spend at Zillow, and not really coaching and helping their agents to take advantage of it to the utmost degree, right? You want your agents to be primed and ready to handle that lead when it comes in. So they're not talking about it being a bad lead. They're talking about the lead that came in that was so challenging that they converted anyway, and how awesome they are and how awesome the team is for being able to do that. And then that goes back to recruiting, right? If they're walking around talking about how great they are and how good we are with Premier Agent, it just brings people in.
Well, and if you've done your job right, then every one of your agents presumably should be out there recruiting for you in that marketplace, right? So, Eric, what about you, sir?
I think with Zillow, and I've been with you guys since day one, actually, as high as I think 75,000 we spend a month or whatever it is, but it's more, you have to give it enough time. So a lot of people buy it, and after 1 month, they're expecting to see a return or things along those lines. Typically, you see 4 to 6 months for it to kick in for an agent, right? So it's almost like a light switch goes on. As long as they're working those leads right, they're going to start seeing a return. It's going to be helpful. So I would say, one, just give it time, invest and make sure you know that it's 4 to 6 months probably before it really kicks in. Then also build your profiles. Obviously, it's nice to get a come list me or just come work with me because your reviews are high or whatever it is. So I would definitely leverage that as much as you possibly can.
And Todd?
So I would say we've been with Zillow since we started the company as well too, and over the last, I'd say 2 years, Zillow has definitely put more time and effort into sending out things to help, especially your new agents. For us, we like to hire people who have never done this before. Again, we're very personality driven, very cultural driven, so we like to find someone who fits the mold that works for us. So if you've never done this before, you get crushed with all kinds of information from everywhere. Well, for us, we know we're with Zillow, so we try to give them information that edifies why we're giving you this lead. Well, we're giving this lead because these guys, the best lead, the highest converting in the industry, as Eric said. So what we do is we take a lot of the information that Zillow sends out in their emails and we give it to those people who are just onboarding. You want to give them as much knowledge as possible, and Zillow's an awesome repository for that. Oliver Keating is our rep. He's been great, always willing to help anybody that we send over to him. Any issues that come up for the agents, it's nice because quite frankly, it takes something off of our plate. We just say, hey, Oliver, can you help him with this? And then Zillow pays for it and we don't, right? So that's been a big thing for us, is leaning on Oliver, leaning on Zillow for their initial things to help those agents who have not done this before, who don't know where to go and need just those pieces of information to make them feel like they're taking something in every day. It's not just from us, but it's from a partner that we work with and that we've been successful with.
Awesome. Well, we've got a lot of brain power up here, and I hope you guys can see the passion. That's the thing that I'm struck with by here is just watching you guys talk about your agents and your companies, the passion that's coming out as you do so. So I want to open it up to you guys and see if we've got any questions that we can take. And we got a gentleman right here. Yeah. Okay, so the question was, how are you holding your agents accountable with the Zillow leads that you're sharing with them? Great topic. We'll just go down the road, Todd.
That's an awesome question, and one of my guys in the crowd, Dylan Tooch, could edify this one really well. So for us, what we do is your cap is directly tied to your closing percentage. So if you don't keep your closing percentage there, then you're not going to cap out, which for some agents, especially our top agents, you're talking about 20, 30, 40, 50. I mean, we have an agent right now that should have about $50,000 more in her pocket, but she blew herself out, and by the end of the year, she didn't have her closing percent, so she's lost out on an entire quarter of potential income out of it. So that's what we do. We tie it directly to their cap, and if you're going to cap, everyone wants to do that. If you have one, whether you're a 90-10, where you hit that cap and you go over, that's been the most successful thing for us. So for us, it sort of balances. If they don't get it, then they're inherently going to put more money back into our expenses, and if you do get it, then you're making a bunch of ROI on those leads that we do have.
That's great. Nick?
Gosh, the best decision we ever made was converting to an agent of the day model, right? So people do round robin, they do ISA, a bunch of different things. We do agent of the day. So an agent, say their day will be Monday, they have to be in office that day. So it allows us to make sure they're getting back in 5 minutes, all those type of things, and they get all their leads within the 24-hour period. So it's really helped us in terms of keeping them accountable, knowing that they're in the office, and then they also have mentor coaches there helping them out. So.
Teresa.
We actually, so we don't pay for, all of our spend doesn't come from the firm. We offer specific agents, and not everyone, you have to earn the right to be offered this, but we will offer Premier Agent matching. So based on their split, we will match their spend. If they're on a 50-50 split and they want to spend $1,000 a month, we'll spend $1,000 a month, and then they get 50-50 when they close the deal. Nothing will make them feel more accountable than they know that if they don't answer the phone, they've just lost $150, right? I mean, they know how important those leads are when they've got skin in the game. We're really big on the agents having skin in the game. And the agents are smart enough, the agents that we hire are smart enough to realize that psychologically, they know that they need to put money in so that they will answer the phone, right? That they are going to be more successful if we match them instead of covering the entire spend for them. I know I would be. If somebody's just paying for all the leads and saying, Teresa, answer the phone, we're paying for all these for you. If I'm at dinner, I might be a little less likely to pick up the phone than if I'm paying for half that spend, right? Sorry, gotta be rude and pick up the phone. That's $150, right? That's $300. I'm gonna pick that up. That's hopefully gonna turn into a whole lot more than that. So skin in the game, whatever it is that you're talking about, whether it's Premier Agent or Zillow or anything, I just can't find a more effective way. You don't have to hold them accountable because they're already in it.
All right, and we've got one more question from this gentleman over here. Sir.
Teresa, so you are in arguably the most competitive real estate market in the country, right? And so what's your differentiator for hiring? Because you've got some really big competition pieces out there who are much more well-known, national brands. So what's your differentiator because new agents, they don't get it.
Right.
They don't understand the value. After the fact, they get the team, they get the culture, they love it, but they don't understand it in the beginning. They're so focused on splits sometimes. So what's your differentiator for hiring to help bring them in?
Well, the way I see it, big picture, right, is you can go to Bloomingdale's or let's say Macy's, right, something that's a little more national, or you can go get a bespoke suit. You can go to the tailor and have a really nice suit made. Which would you prefer, right? On a more micro level, if I'm in an interview, I talk to them and I say, look, I think it's really important that you explore all of your options. I'm really just looking for a partner here. I put way too much time and energy and effort into each agent that walks in the door to just hire everyone, right? One of the things that everywhere you go, they're going to tell you that they offer training. I highly encourage you to probe further, right? This is for new agents, right? Ask them what that training looks like. Are they going to parade a bunch of their top performers in front of you who are going to talk about how they made it big, right? Are they going to send you off to a classroom somewhere with 30 other agents? And then I tell them exactly what their training is going to look like at our firm. I tell them the mentorship opportunities that we have. And I do talk about culture and all of those things. But I also, the first question I ask is, what are you looking for in a firm, right? And if what they're looking for doesn't match what we've got to offer, I don't want them. It's not going to work, right? And if they say, all of the things that are, that compatible with what we have to offer, then I know I don't really have to sell them, right? I just really am open and honest and explain who we are and make it very clear that I want them to go to those firms and find out as much as possible about them because it is a very important decision, and I very much stress how personally important it is to me to get them going, to get that momentum going, to get their business started.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to go one more question to each one of you. Lightning round, 30 seconds. Where do you see your business in 2 years? And we'll start with Todd and work our way down.
All right, barring any massive meltdown, which I hope we're all hoping that same thing. There'll be some wood around here. So our goal was to expand outside of our state and where we are. We're in New England. So we have 3 states within about 10 miles. So our goal is to have epicenters in both those spots and those small elite sort of ninja-like teams that we're looking for in a couple of other states right around us, and then sort of have our central hub being in the state that's in the middle, which happens to be New Hampshire. Grow our team. We're looking to get around. We'd love to hit the $500 million mark in the next 2 years by growing those little hubs in a few of the other areas about 50 miles from where we are.
Awesome. Eric?
I think it's going to go 2 ways. One is either stay in the DMV area where we're at, grow to probably 2,500 agents and continue to increase, or do we kind of do it the expansion route and go to other states and see what happens, just with the model being what it is. So we're out there kind of really determining what's going to be the next step in general. So.
Again, just because we're such a concentrated area, we're talking about the financial district versus Battery Park City versus South Street Seaport, which are all within about a mile of each other. We're already very much the experts in the financial district. We do work all over Manhattan, but I see us really owning those 3 neighborhoods. If we grow, it might be from 30 to 40 agents. 50 would be a whole lot. We don't want to be bigger than that. We want to continue to own more and more of the small areas that we do and continue to just really increase the business for the agents we have. I always say that my dream is to be at a cocktail party, right, and overhear someone saying, "Did you hear? A desk opened up at Platinum." You know, everybody wants to be there. Like, that's really where we're going.
Now, I asked him that question because I thought it might be some good food for thought in case you guys had other questions, because it's the natural cap to this is how we've grown to where we want to go. So do we have any other questions? So maybe that's awesome. Up front here, Jim.
Eric, you mentioned that you have a day agent comes in at 9 to 5.
Yep.
So you can expedite that 5-minute role. What do you do with the 7 o'clock p.m., 8 p.m.? How do you handle it?
So what Jim asked, just so everybody can hear, is he said you mentioned that you have a schedule for 9 to 5 agent. Well, how do you handle 7 o'clock, et cetera? So, sir.
Yeah, so the in-office hours is actually 10 to 2 is when they come in. Kickoff meeting, trainings, that type stuff. But leads are turned on at 10 and then go till 10 the next day. So there's a 24-hour window. In those off hours, they just know that we have people manually checking, and if it's past 5, it's going to be transferred. So they just have the always the scare that they may lose that lead.
The fear of loss.
Yeah, exactly.
FOMO. It's very, very powerful. Who else has a question? I saw another hand. Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming. Hold on 1 second.
Here comes
Coming
the
to you.
microphone. Are you guys getting some value out of these folks? This is really good stuff here.
As you grew, and going from your trusted advisors of accountant, lawyer, how did you handle your back office operations as you got larger?
It's that.
Who wants to leave? How did you handle your back office as you scaled the front office?
So we actually started really heavy, top heavy, knowing that what our goal was to get to a point of having more agents and higher producing. So we started with a lot of people at the top, which is a little different. And again, it comes from your business model. Where is your goal? If you know where you're sitting at year 1 and you know where you want to be at year 10, then there's no question of where you're going to be in the middle of that and what you need to grow that beyond those advisors that you're talking about. So I would say get a plan now if you don't have one. Get a business plan and follow that so you always know ahead of the game where you're going, so you don't have to ask yourself the question, what do I do with my staff now? Because the plan's already there for you.
Awesome. Eric?
Yeah, so we have 10 employees total, so everything's very, very efficient in terms of what we do. So we run dot loop into Broker Wolf. That's just going to be the normal accounting and different things like that. Boomtown is the CRM that we use. But I mean, outside of that, it's all pretty simplistic, to be honest with you. It's a lot of templated drip campaigns, text campaigns. Everything's pretty much done for the agent. So.
Yeah, and Teresa?
We originally, when we first started growing, it was very, very organic. My partners one of them was still in college when they started. They were agents and they were just very successful. So it's kind of like you were saying, they had a lot of leads and were like, we need to get more agents in here. And then eventually they had an office, so they needed a receptionist. And it was very organic. They were very young, fearless, really. It's pretty exciting to look back. But what we're now doing, and I think these guys have it right in terms, especially what Todd was saying about figure out what you want it to be, and then figure out what the roles are that you need. I mean, obviously, if you've already got something going, you don't necessarily need to go out and hire 5 people. But I would very much look at where you want to be in 2 years or 5 years, figure out what that structure would be, and figure out, of course, what you can do with technology, right? So many things that you used to hire, have to have a person to do. Now you have to have a person to oversee, right? I mean, I'm all about, we're in the process of looking for a CTO right now because we think, it's really, I need somebody whose full-time job is what technology is out there and are we using it, is the technology we have the best technology that we could have? You're never done with technology, right? If you build a machine for your firm, by the time you've built it, it's obsolete. So really having somebody who understands what's going on in the tech world right now, we're not a technology company, right? We're a real estate firm, and we know that really, really well. Is technology the most important thing right now? Kinda. I mean, if you want to be around in 5 years, if you want to thrive, 100%. So I would say figuring out what you want your firm to be doing and then having someone in technology who really knows what parts can be outsourced, not outsourced, but supported by technology, and then whatever people roles you need to have, planning for that. How do you cover that in the meantime? But really knowing that what your ideal is. What do I want? And then what am I going to do to get it? As opposed to what do I need right now to kind of like piece it together, you know?
I think that's great. I think that it's a really nice kind of tie into the whole thing. It's basically the easiest structure for growth is take a look at your operations and do a gap analysis of here's what I need now, here's where I'm going, and then for the gaps, do I fill it in with technology, with people, or with both? So that's fabulous. So we've got time for one more. We'll go ahead and go right to you. Make sure to hold it close.
How do you handle, if you've given the leads, repeat business? So if those leads come back and they buy or sell, are you letting your agents keep those referrals at 100%? Are you taking a portion of that? And also on the CRM for shared leads within the company, are you having the agents use those clients and starting their own CRM? Or are you keeping it in a business CRM?
We'll start with Teresa and head down.
Any internal leads that come from myself or my partners from our own business are absolutely at a lower split. I mean, we all know that an enormous part of closing a deal is getting the client, right? And I think the agents understand that as well. We certainly don't get any resistance on that. In terms of our CRM, we use Salesforce, so which is as unique as each company here because you have to customize it for your business. But they do get that lead as well. I mean, they're making the relationship, so they might as well have it in their system, I would say. I'm not sure if that answers the question. Okay.
That's great. Eric?
For me, I'm all about retention for the agent, right? So when they come on, I typically say, look, the first deal or first two, if it's a buy-sell transaction, is going to be 50-50. After that, it's going to be whatever your personal split is, right? And that can go all the way up to 100%. Because I look at it and say it's leads, but it's also building your database to hopefully make you productive moving forward. So, so they would get whatever their compensation is. We're not going to try to take it later on. And also the main reason behind that is it is a service industry, right? So if that client's going to come back as a repeat client, I look at it as you gave that client a good experience, and hopefully we're all striving to make that happen. So in terms of CRM, Boomtown's what we use, again, everything would be in there if it's generated their leads. Yep.
Sir.
So we use Salesforce as well, and we're in the middle of you guys, so we do our first leads 50-50. If it's a buy-sell, it's still 50-50. If they come back again, it's 60-40. Then everything after that's a 70-30, which is their personal deals. But none of it goes towards their cap. Those deals are outside of the cap. So we sort of able to keep a really strong ROI doing that, while also really incentivizing, like Eric said, is to create that real service, that real tight customer service on there, so they are going to come back. We know we generated it, which Teresa said is the hardest part, right? But to keep that agent or to keep that lead and that individual to come back and spend, it's going to be on the agent 100%. I mean, and incentivize them for that, and incentivize them really to keep closing them. Is the more you close, the more people that are going to come back. Statistically, 8% are going to do buy or sell their house or sell their house within 5 years. So you're going to have somebody there. If they work it, they're going to get a little more money on the next one that comes in. And then for us, Salesforce, as soon as it comes back in, it locks it as a second generation, then they get the second 60-40 off of it.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank all of you for spending time with us, and I want to thank our fantastic panel. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Thank you guys very much. Well done.